Dr. Sakura Tanaka stifled a yawn as she adjusted the quantum interference detector at the Mount Fuji Observatory. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of pine through her open window, helping her stay alert during the late-night shift. She hadn't expected anything unusual. These calibration tests were routine, part of her ongoing research into quantum entanglement communication. The first anomaly appeared at 2:47 a.m. Japanese Standard Time. A subtle distortion in the quantum field, unlike anything she'd documented before. Her fingers flew across the holographic display, adjusting parameters to get a clearer reading. "This can't be right," she muttered, reaching for her phone to call her research partner, Dr. Rodriguez, in Chile. Before she could dial, every screen in the observatory flickered. The quantum detector's readings exploded off the charts, its normally steady hum rising to a high-pitched whine. Through the observatory's dome, she watched in astonishment as the stars began to disappear, one by one, as if something massive was eclipsing them. "Emergency Protocol 7, she commanded, and the observatory's advanced systems sprang to life. Multiple telescopes swiveled automatically, their adaptive optics compensating for the atmospheric distortion. The main display showed what was blocking the stars: ships. Massive vessels that defied known physics, their surfaces seeming to bend light around them. Within minutes, her secure line buzzed. "Dr. Tanaka." The voice belonged to General Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. "Are you seeing this?" "Yes," she replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm sending you the quantum readings now. These ships, they're using some form of quantum field manipulation for propulsion. The energy signatures are unlike anything we've theorized." The first transmission from the alien fleet came exactly 1 hour after their arrival. Every screen, every device capable of receiving the signal displayed their message. "We are the hegemony. Your species has been evaluated and found worthy of incorporation. Submit to our authority, and you will be granted protectorate status. Resist, and face extinction. You have 6 Earth hours to respond." Dr. Tanaka barely heard the chaos erupting around her as government officials and military leaders worldwide scrambled to respond. Her attention was fixed on the quantum interference patterns these ships were generating. Something about them seemed familiar. She pulled up her research from the past 5 years. Theoretical work on quantum communication networks. The patterns matched her predictions about quantum field instabilities. According to her calculations, such instabilities could cascade through a quantum network, causing systematic failures. "General Chen," she called back. "Their ships, they're not just using quantum fields for propulsion. Their entire command and control system appears to be quantum-based, and there's a vulnerability." She explained her discovery. The hegemony's quantum network was incredibly advanced, but fundamentally flawed. They had sacrificed stability for efficiency, creating a potential weakness that human technology, ironically considered primitive by their standards, might be able to exploit. As world leaders debated their response to the ultimatum, Dr. Tanaka worked furiously with her team across the globe. Dr. Isabella Santos in Brazil confirmed her findings. Dr. Kim in South Korea began adapting their quantum interference devices. A plan was forming. 5 hours and 58 minutes after the ultimatum was delivered, humanity gave its answer. Not through words, but through action. Dr. Tanaka initiated the quantum pulse, a seemingly simple signal that carried within it the potential to disrupt the hegemony's entire command network. The alien ship's lights flickered briefly as the pulse hit them. It wasn't much, but it was enough to prove her theory correct. Humanity had a chance, not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we saw patterns that the hegemony, in their technological arrogance, had overlooked. Dr. Tanaka smiled as she sent her findings to defense forces worldwide. The hegemony expected surrender from a primitive species. Instead, they were about to learn why humanity's greatest strength wasn't our technology. It was our ability to see opportunities where others saw only obstacles. Colonel Miguel Rodriguez stood at the command center of Luna Base Alpha, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing Earth's orbital space. The hegemony's massive ships loomed like dark clouds against the blue marble of his home planet. Most would see this as a hopeless situation. Humanity's modest fleet of 30 defense vessels against 300 alien warships. But Rodriguez had learned long ago that numbers alone didn't determine victory. Status report on Dr. Tanaka's quantum interference devices, he asked, his voice carrying the calm authority that had earned him command of Earth's most advanced space installation. Lieutenant Sarah Chen brought up the latest data. QID integration complete on all lunar defense platforms, sir. The energy signature matching shows an 87% correlation with hegemony communications. Rodriguez nodded, allowing himself a small smile. While the world's attention was focused on the enormous alien ships, his team had been quietly implementing what he called Operation Mosquito, named after Earth's smallest but most persistent predator. Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Activate the quantum noise generators, but keep them at minimal power. Let's not show our full hand yet. Across the lunar surface, hidden transmitters powered up. These devices, based on Dr. Tanaka's breakthrough, began releasing carefully calibrated quantum interference patterns into space. To the hegemony sensors, they would appear as nothing more than background radiation. At first, the alien fleet's first attack came precisely as predicted. Their largest vessels moved to establish a geosynchronous orbit over Earth's major cities. Standard intimidation tactics, Rodriguez recognized. He'd studied similar strategies in military history. They're deploying energy shields, Lieutenant Chen reported, reading massive power signatures. Wait, there's something odd about their formation. Rodriguez saw it too. The hegemony ships maintained precise distances from each other, their positions forming an intricate geometric pattern. Dr. Tanaka's theory about their quantum network dependency was proving correct. Increase quantum noise by 15%, he commanded. Focus on grid coordinates 7 through 12. The effect was subtle but immediate. Several hegemony ships in the targeted sector began drifting slightly out of formation, their movements suggesting their navigation systems were experiencing interference. Message from Dr. Tanaka, Lieutenant Chen announced. She's detected fluctuations in their shield harmonics. The quantum disruption is cascading through their network. Rodriguez pressed a button on his command console. All Earth defense vessels. This is Colonel Rodriguez. Execute Protocol Sunbreak. Earth's small fleet of ships, hidden until now behind a constellation of stealth satellites, began their approach. Each vessel carried a modified version of Dr. Tanaka's quantum interference device, amplified to military specifications. Sir, Lieutenant Chen's voice carried a note of excitement. The hegemony ships, they're responding exactly as you predicted. They're clustering their forces to strengthen their quantum network and making themselves a perfect target. Rodriguez finished. Launch the kinetic strike platforms. From the lunar surface, hundreds of small, seemingly primitive projectiles accelerated toward the alien fleet. The hegemony's advanced sensors, partially compromised by the quantum interference, registered them as mere debris until it was too late. These primitive weapons carried quantum-destabilized cores, designed to interact catastrophically with the aliens' energy shields. Where the hegemony expected their superior technology to protect them, they found their own systems being used against them. The first impacts created chain reactions through the hegemony's defensive network. Ships that should have been impervious to such basic attacks found their shields fluctuating wildly. Not enough to destroy them, but more than enough to show them that humanity wasn't as defenseless as they'd assumed. Send the message, Rodriguez ordered, watching as the alien fleet struggled to maintain their formation. Lieutenant Chen transmitted the carefully prepared broadcast. To the hegemony fleet, this was a demonstration. Your quantum network has vulnerabilities you never considered. We've spent hours studying your technology. Imagine what we'll learn in days or weeks. You offered us 6 hours to surrender. We're offering you the same courtesy. Rodriguez watched the holographic display, knowing that somewhere up there, the hegemony commanders were facing a situation their superior technology hadn't prepared them for. a species that could turn their own advantages against them. Now, he said quietly, we wait to see if they're wise enough to recognize the real message. Earth isn't their next conquest. We're their worst nightmare. Lieutenant Jin Wei Chen wiped the condensation from her tablet screen as she floated in the cramped confines of her orbital workshop. Around her, a cluster of decommissioned satellites waited for their transformation. The hegemony's initial shock at humanity's quantum interference defense had worn off, and now they were adapting their tactics. But so were we. Running final diagnostics on Mirror Unit 7, her colleague Dr. Marcus Santos called from his station. The repurposed weather satellite before them hummed as its new systems came online. What once tracked storm patterns would now help save Earth. Power distribution steady, Jin Wei confirmed, watching the readings. Crystal matrix alignment at 98% efficiency. She allowed herself a moment of pride. 3 days ago, these were just theoretical designs. Now they were becoming humanity's invisible shield. A warning light flashed on her heads-up display. Hegemony patrol approaching, Sector 4, the station's AI announced. Jin Wei nodded to her team, and they activated their latest innovation's stealth mode. The modified satellite seemed to fade from view, its surface now reflecting only the darkness of space. Through the workshop's reinforced windows, she watched the massive alien vessel pass. Its sleek design spoke of centuries of advancement beyond human technology. But Jin Wei had learned something important about advanced technology. The more complex it became, the more ways it could fail. Dr. Santos, she called, bring up the quantum signature analysis from their last attack run. A holographic display materialized between them, showing complex wave patterns. See this resonance peak. Their ships generate quantum fields so precise that even tiny disruptions cascade through their entire network. Her team had spent sleepless nights developing what they called the mirror maze strategy. Each modified satellite was now equipped with quantum field generators that could detect, replicate, and reflect the hegemony's own energy signatures back at them. The effect would be like trying to navigate through a hall of mirrors while wearing virtual reality goggles. First wave deployment complete, reported Lieutenant Sarah Wong from Mission Control. Satellite network is showing green across all sectors. Jin Wei pulled up the strategic display. Hundreds of dots represented their modified satellites, now positioned in an intricate three-dimensional grid around Earth. Each one was nearly invisible to hegemony sensors, designed to appear as nothing more than space debris. They're launching another attack formation, Dr. Santos announced. 3 heavy cruisers, backed by fighter squadrons. They're trying to break through to the Australian defense grid. Jin Wei took a deep breath. Initiate Protocol Echo. Let's show them what these mirrors can do. The satellite network activated in sequence. Each unit began generating precise quantum field reflections, creating a maze of false signals and phantom readings. The hegemony ships, relying on their quantum-based navigation and targeting systems, suddenly found themselves in a sea of confusion. Their fighters are breaking formation, Wong reported, excitement creeping into her voice. The cruisers are detecting multiple false targets. On the tactical display, Jin Wei watched as the alien ships began to move erratically, their precise formation dissolving into chaos. Their advanced targeting systems, unable to distinguish real targets from reflected phantoms, rendered their superior weapons useless. Second phase, Jin Wei commanded. Activate the resonance cascade. The satellites began synchronizing their quantum fields, creating constructive interference patterns that amplified the disruptive effect. Hegemony shields flickered as their power systems struggled to compensate for the quantum feedback loops. Message from Colonel Rodriguez, Wong announced. Earth Defense Fleet is moving to engage. They're using the confusion to their advantage. Jin Wei smiled as she watched Earth's smaller but more maneuverable ships dart between the disoriented alien vessels. The hegemony's technological superiority had become their weakness. Their reliance on quantum-based systems made them vulnerable to humanity's improvised countermeasures. Dr. Santos, she said, send the performance data to Dr. Tanaka's team. They'll want to see how their quantum interference theories work in a full-scale engagement. She turned to face her crew, pride evident in her expression. The hegemony thought they were facing a primitive species. Instead, they're learning that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our ability to turn their own strengths against them. Captain Sofia Nakamura crouched behind a fallen column in Rio de Janeiro, her advanced combat suit's sensors tracking the movement of hegemony ground forces through the city's winding streets. The aliens had chosen to land here, expecting the city's complex geography to work in their favor. That had been their first mistake. "Status report," she whispered into her neural link. The response came instantly from her second-in-command, Lieutenant Carlos Silva, positioned 3 blocks away. "Their heavy units are moving exactly as predicted, Captain. They're following the path of least resistance through Copacabana, right into our prepared zones." Sofia allowed herself a small smile. The hegemony's ground forces were impressive. Towering mechanized units backed by infantry in powered armor that made them look more like walking tanks than soldiers. But they thought in straight lines, unable to grasp the fluid nature of urban warfare. "All units, execute Protocol Labyrinth," she commanded. Across the city, her specialized urban defense teams sprang into action. Months of preparation were about to pay off. The first sign that something was wrong came when the hegemony's lead units encountered the abandoned vehicles blocking their path. Their scanners showed them as simple obstacles, but each contained a miniaturized version of Dr. Tanaka's quantum interference device. "Now," Sofia ordered. The devices activated simultaneously, creating a web of quantum disruption that played havoc with the aliens' advanced targeting systems and neural interfaces. Lieutenant Silva's voice crackled over the comm. "Their forward units are disoriented. Implementing Phase 2. The city itself seemed to come alive. Hidden defense turrets emerged from what appeared to be ordinary street furniture. Holographic projectors, adapted from civilian entertainment systems, created phantom targets that the hegemony's troops couldn't distinguish from real threats. "Team Bravo, engage," Sofia commanded, watching as her soldiers put their specialized training to use. They moved like shadows through the urban landscape, their suits camouflaged to match the city's architecture. Each carried weapons specifically designed for this environment. Sonic disruptors that used the city's acoustics to their advantage, and electromagnetic pulse generators tuned to the exact frequency of hegemony shield technology. The alien forces began to break formation, their carefully planned advance dissolving into confusion. Their commanding officers, used to fighting conventional battles against conventional armies, couldn't adapt to an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. "Captain," Silva reported, "they're falling back to their secondary positions. Should we pursue?" "Negative," Sofia replied. "Let them regroup. Initiate Protocol Mirage." Across the city, hidden transmitters began broadcasting false tactical data on frequencies the hegemony used for battlefield coordination. Their troops received phantom sensor readings, showing human forces massing for attacks that didn't exist. Dr. Isabella Santos's voice came through on a secure channel from her command center beneath the city. "Captain Nakamura, the AI is tracking their response patterns. They're deploying reserves exactly as the simulation predicted." The hegemony's reinforcements poured into the city, their commanders determined to overcome what they saw as primitive resistance through sheer force. They didn't realize they were following a script written by humanity's most advanced tactical eye. "All units, execute final phase," Sofia ordered. The true genius of their defense plan revealed itself as the hegemony forces found themselves caught in a three-dimensional maze of quantum interference, holographic deception, and precise tactical strikes. What the aliens had expected to be a straightforward urban pacification had become a nightmare of asymmetric warfare. Every advantage their advanced technology provided was turned against them by humans who had spent generations perfecting the art of urban combat. Sofia watched from her position as another alien unit retreated in disarray. "Send word to Colonel Rodriguez," she instructed. "Ground defense protocols are exceeding expectations. The hegemony is learning that taking our cities is going to cost them more than they can afford. Her neural link shined with an incoming message from High Command. Captain Nakamura, your success in Rayo is being replicated across every major city they targeted. The hegemony expected to find easy targets. Instead, they're discovering that humans don't just defend their homes, they turn them into weapons. Dr. Raj Patel stood in his underground laboratory beneath the Indian Institute of Science, surrounded by holographic models of molecular structures. His team had been working nonstop since recovering fragments of a damaged hegemony vessel from the Arabian Sea. What others saw as debris, he recognized as an opportunity. The crystal matrix is regenerating, announced Dr. Maya Chen, his research partner, her eyes fixed on the quantum microscope display. The molecular bonds are responding to the electromagnetic pulses exactly as theorized. Raj nodded, watching as the alien material slowly reconfigured itself. 3 weeks of continuous research had led to this moment. Apply the carbon nanotube solution, he instructed. Let's see if our hybrid structure holds. Across the Pacific, Admiral Yuki Yamamoto received the encrypted transmission from Dr. Patel's team. Standing on the bridge of the submarine carrier Poseidon, she studied the materials analysis with growing interest. How soon can we implement this? Production facilities in Singapore and Osaka are ready, Dr. Patel's hologram replied. With the new molecular printing technology, we can begin retrofitting naval vessels within 48 hours. Yamamoto smiled. The hegemony had dominated space and challenged them on land, but they had yet to truly understand Earth's oceans. That was about to change. All Pacific Fleet vessels, prepare to execute Operation Deep Current, she commanded. Beneath the waves, hundreds of advanced submarines and underwater drones acknowledged the order. Each would soon be equipped with Dr. Patel's revolutionary hybrid armor. In his lab, Raj watched the final test results stream in. The combination of Earth's advanced carbon nanotech with the recovered alien crystal matrices had created something entirely new, a material that could adapt to and absorb energy weapons, actually growing stronger with each hit. Dr. Santos' AI confirms the simulations, Maya reported. The hegemony's energy weapons will be only 30% effective against vessels equipped with the new armor. Raj allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Send the final specifications to Admiral Yamamoto. It's time to show the hegemony why they should have paid more attention to Earth's oceans. On the Poseidon, Yamamoto received confirmation that the first wave of submarines had been successfully retrofitted. The hegemony's orbital sensors were powerful, but they couldn't penetrate the ocean's depths effectively. Their oversight was about to cost them dearly. Multiple hegemony vessels entering the atmosphere, her tactical officer reported. They're moving to establish a blockade over major shipping lanes. Perfect, Yamamoto responded. They still think this is about surface warfare. Launch the hydrodrones. Thousands of small, unmanned vessels emerged from their underwater bases. Each carried a miniaturized version of Dr. Tanaka's quantum interference device, modified by Dr. Patel's team to work underwater. The ocean itself became a weapon, its currents and thermal layers helping to conceal Earth's forces. First contact in 3 minutes, the tactical officer announced. Hegemony vessels are deploying their energy weapons. The alien ships fired, their powerful beams slicing into the ocean. But instead of finding easy targets, they encountered a defense that adapted with each attack. The hybrid armor on Earth's vessels absorbed and redistributed the energy, growing stronger and more resilient. All vessels, commence counterstrike, Yamamoto ordered. Modified torpedoes, enhanced with the same hybrid technology, launched from submarines worldwide. The hegemony ships, designed for space combat, found their shields inadequate against weapons that could phase shift through their defenses. In his laboratory, Raj monitored the engagement through quantum encrypted feeds. The molecular enhancement is exceeding expectations, he noted. Each hit is making our armor more effective, not less. Maya's console lit up with new data. Sir, The hegemony is pulling their ships back to higher altitude. They're retreating from the ocean theater entirely. Send word to Admiral Yamamoto, Raj instructed. The hybrid armor synthesis is stable. We can begin full-scale production for ground forces as well. The Admiral's response was immediate. Dr. Patel, your breakthrough just changed the course of this war. The hegemony thought their technology made them invincible. Instead, they're learning that humanity's greatest strength is our ability to understand, adapt, and improve upon anything we encounter, even their own advanced materials. Dr. Marco Chen paced in the central control room of the Quantum Defense Network headquarters beneath the Swiss Alps, his eyes darting between dozens of holographic displays. Each screen showed a different node of the global quantum interference network he and Dr. Luna Park had designed. After weeks of preparation, the system was finally ready. Final calibration complete on the South American array, Dr. Park announced from her station. Her fingers danced across the quantum-encrypted controls, fine-tuning the network's resonance patterns. Asian and African nodes are synchronized and standing by. Marco nodded, checking the quantum entanglement readings. What had started as Dr. Tanaka's localized interference concept had evolved into something far more ambitious, a planetary defense grid that would turn Earth's entire atmosphere into a quantum disruption field. Status update from Commander Diana Reyes. Their AI interface reported. The orbital defense fleet is in position. They're ready to execute the counteroffensive on your mark. Luna brought up a tactical display showing Earth's transformed defense forces. Ships now equipped with Dr. Patel's hybrid armor formed an intricate pattern in low orbit, each vessel carrying specialized quantum amplifiers developed by their team. The hegemony's remaining ships are clustering in high orbit, Marco observed. Their quantum signatures suggest they're attempting to establish a stronger unified field to resist our interference. Luna smiled. Exactly as predicted. They still haven't realized that their defensive formation is actually making them more vulnerable to a synchronized attack. The plan was elegant in its complexity. Each Earth vessel carried a piece of a larger puzzle, their quantum amplifiers designed to work in concert. When activated together, they would create a cascading resonance that would turn the hegemony's own quantum network against them. All stations, prepare for Operation Quantum Storm, Marco commanded. Around the world, hidden transmitters powered up, their energy signatures carefully masked to appear as natural atmospheric phenomena. Commander Rice's voice came through their secure channel. Ground teams report ready. Captain Nakamura's urban defense units are standing by to handle any forces that make it through. Luna initiated the countdown sequence, quantum field harmonics at optimal levels, beginning final power-up sequence. The room hummed with energy as the global network came fully online. On their displays, they could see the quantum interference patterns spreading like a web around the planet, invisible to conventional sensors, but devastating to the hegemony's advanced systems. Execute primary sequence, Marco ordered. The Earth fleet moved in perfect synchronization, each ship activating its quantum amplifier at precisely the right moment. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Multiple hegemony vessels reporting systems failures, the AI announced. Their quantum network is experiencing cascading disruptions. Luna's hands flew across her controls, adjusting the interference patterns in real time. Their attempts to compensate are actually amplifying the effect. The quantum resonance is feeding back through their entire command structure. In orbit, Commander Rice led the assault. Earth's ships, now immune to the quantum disruption thanks to Dr. Patel's hybrid armor, struck with precision at the hegemony's weakened defenses. The aliens' superior technology, once their greatest strength, had become a vulnerability they couldn't overcome. They're launching escape pods, Marco noted, watching as hundreds of small vessels ejected from the larger ships. Their crews are abandoning the compromised vessels. Luna quickly analyzed the readings. The pods are using basic propulsion systems. They've completely abandoned their quantum technology. They're learning to fear their own advanced systems. Message from High Command, their AI reported. The hegemony's remaining fleet is retreating past lunar orbit. First confirmed victory in a space-based engagement. Marco and Luna shared a moment of triumph, but they knew their work wasn't finished. Begin collecting data on their abandoned ships, Marco instructed. Every piece of technology they leave behind is another opportunity for us to advance. And another reminder, Luna added, that humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to learn, adapt, and turn adversity into advantage. The hegemony came expecting to find primitives. Instead, they found a species that could master their technology faster than they could prevent it. Dr. Gabriela Torres sat in the newly established First Contact Center in Geneva, studying the holographic display of neural patterns from their hegemony guest. The alien scientist, who had chosen to remain behind when their ships retreated, was unlike anything they had expected. Behind the advanced technology and military might, they discovered a being capable of curiosity and wonder. The quantum resonance patterns in your brain activity are fascinating, she said, watching as the translation matrix converted her words into the hegemony's complex language of light pulses and quantum states. Your species thinks in quantum superpositions naturally. The alien scientist, whom they had named Scholar, responded through the same system. As do yours, though differently. Your neural patterns show something we've never encountered. True cognitive quantum entanglement. Your minds can make connections we thought impossible. Colonel Hikari Seto watched this exchange from her tactical station nearby. After weeks of defending against hegemony attacks, seeing peaceful communication felt almost surreal. But she knew better than to lower her guard completely. Dr. Torres, she called, the tactical AI is detecting interesting patterns in Scholar's neural outputs. They match something we've seen before. Gabriela nodded, pulling up the comparison data. The same quantum signatures we detected in their ship's command protocols. Their entire civilization is built on quantum computing principles that mirror their own thought processes. Scholar's visual receptors flickered, their equivalent of surprise. You detected this so quickly. Our scientists spent generations developing these systems. Humans have always excelled at pattern recognition, Gabriela explained. What takes other species careful development, we often grasp intuitively. It's why we were able to adapt your technology so rapidly. The aliens' next response carried a tone their translators identified as respect mixed with concern. This is why the Hegemony Council feared your species. You don't just use technology. You transform it, improve it, sometimes in ways we never imagined possible. Colonel Seto stepped forward, her tactical display showing the latest updates from Earth's defense network. Like how we turned your quantum communication network against you. That wasn't just science, it was creativity applied to warfare. Precisely, Scholar responded. Our military doctrine was based on technological superiority. We never considered that a lesser species could understand and counter our advantages so quickly. Your Colonel Rodriguez's strategy of using our own quantum fields against us was unprecedented. Gabriela watched the neural pattern display carefully as Scholar spoke. You're exhibiting signs of what we would call admiration. Your species can learn and adapt too, can't they? The alien scientist's color patterns shifted slightly. Yes, but slowly, methodically. Your species, you leap forward in bounds. Dr. Patel's adaptation of our crystal matrices into hybrid armor took us completely by surprise. Such innovation should have taken decades. Because you approach problems linearly, Colonel Seto observed. Humans tend to think laterally, finding connections others might miss. It's why Dr. Chen and Dr. Park could turn our entire planet into a quantum disruption field. Scholar's next transmission carried complex emotional overtones. The hegemony has encountered many species, conquered many worlds. But never before have we found one that could match our technology so quickly, let alone surpass it in some areas. Gabriela smiled, noting the shifts in Scholar's neural patterns. You're not just here to study us, are you? You're here to understand how we think, how we innovate. Your people want to learn from us as much as we want to learn from you. Yes, Scholar admitted. The Council believes that conflict with humanity would be counterproductive. Your species has proven that technological advancement alone doesn't determine superiority. Your greatest weapon isn't your technology or your strategies. It's our adaptability, Colonel Seto finished. Our ability to see possibilities where others see limitations. To turn disadvantages into strengths. Gabriela watched as her instruments recorded something unprecedented. Scholar's neural patterns were beginning to show signs of human-like lateral connections. Perhaps, she said, this is the beginning of both our species learning from each other. Not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals who can grow stronger together. Dr. Sakura Tanaka stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first joint human hegemony space facility, watching as another transport ship docked smoothly into the quantum-stabilized berth. 6 months had passed since the failed invasion, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The latest data from the Cultural Exchange Program is fascinating, Dr. Maria Zhang said, joining her at the window. As Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, Maria had been instrumental in transforming former enemies into allies. The hegemony is implementing human-inspired teaching methods across their educational systems. Sakura nodded, remembering how it all began with that first quantum signal detection at Mount Fuji. They're learning that rigid thinking has its limitations. Scholars' reports to the Council have sparked a renaissance in their society. The station's quantum communications array chimed softly. Ambassador Zhang, the AI interface announced, Colonel Rodriguez is requesting a conference regarding the Joint Defense Initiative. The main display activated, showing a split screen of familiar faces. Colonel Rodriguez, now Admiral, appeared alongside Dr. Patel, whose hybrid materials technology had revolutionized space construction. Captain Nakamura, recently promoted to oversee Earth's global defense network, joined the call from her command center in Rio. The integration of hegemony quantum systems with our orbital defense grid is proceeding ahead of schedule, Rodriguez reported. Their engineers are still amazed by how quickly we adapted their technology. Dr. Patel's image nodded in agreement. The new hybrid ships are testing beyond all expectations. By combining our intuitive design approach with their quantum engineering, we're creating vessels that neither species could have developed alone. The ground forces are reporting similar success, Nakamura added. Our urban combat techniques, enhanced by hegemony technology, are being adopted as the new standard for planetary defense across the galaxy. Maria smiled, pulling up the latest diplomatic briefings. The Council has officially recognized Earth as a senior member species. Our status has been upgraded from potential threat to essential ally in record time. Speaking of records, Sakura interjected. Dr. Luna Park's quantum communication network has just achieved galaxy-wide coverage. We can now maintain instantaneous contact with every member world of the former hegemony. The station slightly vibrated as another ship docked, this one bearing the distinctive crystal lattice design of the newest human hegemony collaborative vessels. Dr. Isabella Santos' voice joined the conference from her research facility in Brazil. The tactical AI has finished analyzing the complete hegemony database they shared with us, she reported. We've identified 17 potential first contact scenarios with other advanced civilizations. The Council is requesting our assistance in peaceful engagement strategies. Quite a change from their original invasion plans, Rodriguez observed with a hint of pride. They came expecting to find savages or servants. Instead, they found equals, maybe even superiors in some ways. Maria raised her hand, drawing attention to a new alert on her diplomatic channel. The Council has just approved our proposal for the Galactic Innovation Exchange. Earth will host the first symposium on adaptive technology development. A fitting turn of events, Sakura said. Humanity's greatest strength was never our weapons or our technology. It was our ability to learn, adapt, and grow. And now we're teaching that skill to the galaxy. The observation deck's window automatically tinted as the station rotated into sunlight. Earth hung below them, no longer a primitive world to be conquered, but a shining example of innovation and resilience. Commander Reyes reports the first graduating class of the Joint Space Academy is ready, Nakamura announced. Humans and hegemony officers training together, something unimaginable 6 months ago. They expected us to surrender, Maria reflected, watching as more ships arrive, bearing representatives from across the galaxy eager to learn from Earth. Instead, we taught them something far more valuable. That true strength lies not in conquering others, but in learning from them. Sakura turned to face her colleagues, the same determination in her eyes that had helped her decode that first alien signal. This isn't just a new chapter for Earth, she said. It's a new chapter for the entire galaxy, and humanity will help write every page.